Welcome back to the Ben Mulroney Show, and welcome back it's Friday, so it's time for our all-star panel for this week in politics. Please welcome Warren Kinsella, former special advisor to Jean Chrétien, CEO of the Daisy Group, and Michael Burns, the CEO of Canada's Valor Games. To the both of you, I say happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Good to be here.
Let's talk bail reform. You know, we heard the Conservatives put forth their own bill. I think we all knew that it wasn't going to be adopted by the Liberals, but they did promise. We promise you that the Conservatives are going to like our own version of this when we come forth with ours. And about a couple of weeks later, that's exactly what they did. And we on this show said, listen, we like what we're reading in the headlines, but the devil is in the details. And it turns out the devil is in fact in the details, and we find the devil lacking. At least from my perspective, a lot of symbolic, not necessarily sweeping changes in the bill, minor tweaks like to the consecutive sentencing rule with very narrow crimes that it would apply to. And we've got a lawyer on the panel, so let's go to you, Warren. What do you think? Is this rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic?
No, it's big.
Is
it's
it? Okay.
significant. And yeah, and you can tell by virtue of the fact that the Tories aren't complaining very much about it at all. Law and order is a conservative issue, as you know. You know, Liberals are better on healthcare, and it's big. The question I've got, you know, I looked at some of it and it's like, I'm not sure that's going to pass a charter challenge. Like the criminal defense bar, there's some very capable criminal defense lawyers in this country from BC to Newfoundland. And they're looking at that package and saying, I can knock that out. I can knock that out. So
Okay.
you know, what Parliament has to say is obviously of great significance. It's our supreme legislature. They're the ones responsible for amending the criminal code. But all of this stuff is going to get tested in charter challenges. That's number one. Number two, very quickly, in fairness to the feds, whether it's the Tories in charge or the Liberals or whomever, their responsibility for criminal justice is just the criminal code. The funding of the criminal justice system, where actually the biggest problem exists, is at the provincial level. They pay for the salaries of the prosecutors. They pay for the salaries of the judges. They build the jails. So if we don't have room to put these bad guys who shouldn't be out on bail, that's more of a responsibility of the provinces than the feds. And then municipally, of course, Ben, as you know, they pay for the cops.
Yep.
If we don't have enough cops, that's so everybody's got a role to play here.
Yeah.
Everybody can share in some of the blame. But I have to say, I was surprised. I think it was big.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to defer to Warren on almost everything he said, with the exception of the demonstration of that it's big is that the Tories don't have a lot to say because they are, Mike Burns, because they are the party of law and order, at least traditionally. Then they're probably recognizing that any leap forward, however big or small, is something they have to get behind. And so long as the situation tomorrow legislatively is better than today, then it's something they have to work towards, and they have to be part of. Otherwise, they'll be viewed as obstructionists.
Go Jays, go!
Yes, let's start with that. Yeah.
Look, I actually think Ottawa finally got part of this right. Where I do worry is around young offenders. I think that you just can't shrink the adult system and call it youth justice. Rehabilitation, I think, still has to be the goal and not revenge. Otherwise, I think we're funding short-term safety at a cost for long-term failure. So it'll be interesting. I think Warren raises some good points around charter challenges going forward. But I think this is definitely a move in the right direction.
All right. Well, I'm glad that Warren brought up charter challenges, because I wonder whether, lawyers who make that their stock and trade are going to be looking at Saskatchewan in the coming months, because Scott Moe announced that he's taking the bold move of putting forth in the fall, the Saskatchewan Party is going to table the Compassionate Care Act, which is essentially going to be a new law that says that if your life has been destroyed by drugs and you are in the throes of addiction, and if you are being controlled by the drugs, then you don't necessarily have the wherewithal to make informed decisions, and we're going to make one for you, and we're going to force you into treatment. And I cannot believe that in Canada in 2025, civil liberties groups won't have a problem with that, Warren.
No, they will, absolutely. But, to some extent, he's right. And I say that as somebody, I did a magazine piece a few months ago where I sat down on the ground in the dirt with fentanyl addicts. Entire families are addicted to fentanyl in Belleville, near where I live. And, they said to me, Warren, you don't understand this drug.
Yeah.
The first time you take fentanyl, you're hooked. That's it.
Yeah.
Your entire focus of your life. So, to me, to deal with fentanyl, which is the biggest problem in urban centers,
Yeah.
meth is the problem in rural centers, is you got to have housing for these people. They're not, a program is not going to work with them. And they've told me this, a program's not going to work if they're living on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
We need to create housing. And why, the city of Toronto, every time some millionaire decides he's going to, or she's going to build, these little tiny homes for some of the homeless people, the city comes along and tears them down.
Yeah.
Like, it's bananas to me. We need to, this is a big, big problem. And the one thing we need to acknowledge is the enormity of the impact of fentanyl on the human body. Fentanyl is the most addictive drug we've ever had in our history. That, to me, so Mo is right. Some people are going to welcome treatment. Some people are going to welcome getting off the street. Those that don't, there's going to have to be some compelling. And the addicts I've talked to agree with that.
Yeah, and look, when how many times have we heard, Mike Burns? We've heard addicts say, during I've watched enough of that show Intervention, where the interventionist says, you aren't talking to your brother or your sister. You are talking. The drug is in control. The drug is in control. So that the drug is going to fight back, and in the situations where the drug leaves that person's system and they have a moment of clarity, oftentimes they'll say, thank you. I wouldn't have done this without being forced into treatment. And so I know that we live in Canada, Mike Burns, in 2025, where charter challenges seem to be popping up every single day on almost every issue. But this is definitely one where I do hope that even if a lawyer makes a compelling case, a judge says, no, not on this one.
I agree. I mean, look, sometimes you've got to step in when someone can't save themselves. And I believe that forced treatment isn't a punishment. It's compassion. If someone overdoses every week, leaving them on the street in the name of choice, it just isn't humane. It's neglect.
Yeah.
And I agree with Warren. We've got to make sure that they get the treatment that they need. But when they're out, that we provide the support around them, including housing, counseling, and job support programs as well.
Exactly. And, we were talking with the mayor of Barrie on this show just yesterday. And just drug addiction and homelessness are not on the Venn diagram. They intersect, but they don't overlap completely. But even he said with the homelessness issue in his city, after declaring a state of emergency, he said once we get people into housing, it's still a 2-year process. It's at least a 2-year process where we work with them to transition them from being somebody who would self-identify as unhoused or homeless into a productive, integrated member of society. It's not an overnight thing. And if that's a pure homeless play, then I got to think it's a 5-10-year program sometimes with people who are in the grips of drug addiction. Warren, I'll give you the last word on this.
Totally agree with that. And Barrie is one of the cities, one of these smaller cities that's actually had to declare a state of emergency because they've been unable to deal with the issue on their own. So, the mayor is right. And guys, we're seeing this problem, not just in places like Toronto, like in Bancroft. I've been in Bancroft and they've got a fentanyl problem. So it's everywhere. And, it's an all hands on deck situation and governments need to step up. Some of them look like they're prepared to do that.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the battle between the Titans in Canada and the United States and how it's been halted. I'm not talking about the World Series. I'm talking about trade talks between Canada and the United States. And who is to blame? Well, if you listen to Donald Trump, he'll say the ghost of Ronald Reagan. We will explain next when our panel returns right here on the Ben Mulroney Show. Quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the